Are you fed up with your boring drill press table? Does your drill press fail to impress the ladies like it used to? Do you think positioning workpieces by hand is for suckers? Then you've got to see our new shop invention. And if your sanding area isn't as drafty as mine is, you've got to see This Week on Blue Collar Woodworking. A drill press is one of the most underappreciated tools in the shop. Most just sit in the corner waiting to make an occasional hole. I think that's sad, because they can do so much more if they're properly equipped. I looked at a lot of drill press designs and several commercial versions, and there was a lot to like, but some of them were just chunks of plywood with a fence. That's not good enough for me. I'm one of those guys that wants every conceivable feature possible. I feel like if I'm going to make something, why not make it the best it can be?
You know how we like to make fun of the way that magazines and websites refer to their jigs as ultimate and unbelievable all the time. Well, this might just qualify. We're calling it the Drill Impress table. It's got all kinds of features. Drawers in the front for storage, downdraft table for sanding, removable inserts, adjustable fence, dust collection in the back, and an XY sliding table so that you can use it for precise positioning of stock and, if you're brave enough, even a little drill press milling. Our final prototype is a little more compact than our original design to save on weight, but it's still fully featured with lots of space for storage, with drawers and slots in the front, and the best part is the replaceable inserts. We made lots of them because they have so many uses. Not only can you throw a new one in when you tear the old one up with drilling, but you can cut different shapes and holes in them to fit things like sanding drums. This, in the combination with the holes and the dust collection from the back, provides a great way to do oscillating spindle sanding on your drill press. Different inserts can be cut for different drum sizes, providing zero clearance and good dust collection. Since the key to safety on a drill press is holding the work securely, we use the same clamp design that we created for our horizontal router table. You slide nicely into the series of T-slots that we put on our replaceable tabletop, and the T-track that's in our back movable fence. But the real heart of our drill press table is the system of lead screw cranks and sliders that create an XY sliding table, complete with locks, cursors, and micro adjustments. This is one of those features that we know we're always going to be finding new and exciting uses for. For one thing, it allows micro positioning of stock, which is great for moving your stock to the right place to drill the hole, but it's also fantastic for doing a series of evenly spaced or even variably spaced holes with accurate precision. This is good for shelf pins, cribbage boards, whatever. Every woodworker I've talked to said they've never been able to successfully mill wood with a router bit in a drill press. Because a drill press spins much slower than a traditional router, it would tear out, bounce around the workpiece, and just cause a mess. But with this design, it is not only possible, but it works very well. Shallow mortises for hinges and cutting grooves and letters for signs. Really, the possibilities are endless. Even with this soft pine, there's very little tear out.
Of course, this new design works best with a big floor-standing drill press. But if you've got a benchtop model, you can make some simple modifications so that it will fit yours. For example, eliminate the drill bit spot underneath, or make the drawer shallower, the dust compartment a little bit shallower, especially if you're going to use a shop vac instead of a 4-inch dust collection port. 1/2 inch or 3/8 plywood would work to save you a lot of space rather than 3/4. It'll get your height considerably down and lighten it up, which is important for small drill presses. Like I said, I believe a drill press should do a lot more than just make holes. And with the XY mechanism on our drill press table, I think we can get this thing to do a lot more. So, in the coming week, I'm going to set our engineers to work designing some special attachments and jigs that we can add to the drill press table to make it a real workhorse in the shop. So stay tuned, because in a couple of weeks we're going to be returning to the drill press table and showing off some of the new features that we come up with.
Just go to stumpynubs.com and click on the tab that says Stumpy Store. There you'll find plans for a lot of the projects we do right here on the show, and the prices are pretty cheap.
While the drill press may sometimes be the neglected tool of the shop, the tape measure gets its full share of work. We have them scattered all over the shop, so there's always one at hand, like I'm sure you do in your shop. But there's a few of them that are special. They're my favorites, and I wanted to take a chance to show them to you. The first one is by a company called Grip. It's huge. It's about twice the size of a regular 16-foot tape measure like you would normally have in the shop. This is for projects more like construction and building, or when you have to measure something really big. The best part about this tape measure is the width of the blade and the heavy metal that it's made out of. It's much harder to kink than a standard tape measure. That means you can really stretch this a long way out before it will fall over and kink. You can go about 8 to 10 feet. It also has a magnetic end that you can stick on a nail or something metal if you're measuring things by yourself and you've got no one to hold on. This isn't the typical tape measure that you're going to use a lot in the shop, but it's a nice one to have. My second favorite is a small 16-foot tape measure from Woodcraft. This is the opposite as the Grip tape measure because it's extra light and it's short at only 16 feet. What I like about it is that you can pull it out and it stays out on its own. You don't have to set a lock and then unlock it. That comes in really handy when you're measuring something quickly. I hate it when the tape measures snap back on you. And it was pretty cheap at Woodcraft. My third favorite is one of a series of tapes made by Fast Cap. This is their 16-foot Pro Carpenter flatback tape. Flatback means that it doesn't have that cup in the metal. Now that means that it's going to just flop. It's not going to hold out straight, but it sure is nice for marking things because you don't have to tilt the tape to get your lines to meet where you're going to mark. It lays nice and flat, kind of like a roll-up ruler. I also like the fact that the material it's made out of allows you to write on the tape. And so this can become a story stick as you work through your project. So like I said, even though I have lots of tape scattered all over the workshop, these three are the ones that I put on my belt. Well, not this one, because this one makes my pants fall down, but the other two are always close at hand.
Dear Stumpy, I start every Sunday with coffee in my blue-collar woodworking mug, a bowl of Stumpy Star cereal, and relax in my Stumpy jammies to watch the newest episode. But lately there hasn't been a new one every weekend. I'm getting the shakes. What can we at the Stumpy Nubs fan club do to help? Sincerely, Stumpy Stalker.
I'm not sure those Stumpy Nubs jammies are officially licensed, or legal, or not creepy. A lot of things can cause us to miss a week in the schedule. Illness here at the shop, typhoons, being kidnapped and held for ransom. Lately, we've been taking some time to try and improve the show. Producing something like this is a complicated process, and frankly, we don't know what the heck we're doing. So this season has been a learning process, and sometimes we just have to step back and make sure that we're progressing the way that we want to be.
One thing we've been working on lately is our studio lighting for filming. Now, we could buy lighting systems, but you know us better than that. We're going to try to make it ourselves. With fully adjustable lightweight poplar frames, a disposable lasagna pan, and some miscellaneous electrical parts, we made ours for about $25 a piece. Now that's a bright idea.
Our homemade studio lights hang from the ceiling, but they can easily be adapted to tripods to stand on the floor if that's something that you prefer. They're great for filming, but even if you don't do filming in your shop, you probably take a few photographs. A lot of woodworkers take them for their portfolios or to submit work to websites or to other places, to customers if you're doing it professionally. You need good photographs, and the key to good photographs is good lighting. Good lighting can be expensive, but we believe you can save money and you can get a sense of satisfaction if you just take the time to make it yourself. So feel free to adapt our design to your own use.
Whenever small children have trouble understanding what I tell them, I just talk slowly with loud, sarcastic words. My mother taught me that trick whenever she ordered Chinese food.
So the bottom line is we do miss an episode occasionally, but it's for the best. And we hope to have one just about every week as we progress through the summer. And we've got some big projects coming up, so you're going to want to stay tuned to each one. And when season 2 starts this fall, we have a huge announcement to make. So stick around. Is your sanding table drafty? Mine wasn't. So this past week, we got to work on a new sanding station that will revolutionize the Stumpy Nubs workshop. Getting the most out of a small shop means using every bit of space possible. Sometimes that requires just a little thought and creativity. And I'm sure if you look around your shop, you can squeeze even more use out of your space. Here at the Stumpy Nubs workshop, we had a raised porch that was by one of the doors. Well, a few 2x4s and a little playing around, and we managed to use it for storage for wood, for the joiner, the planer, the lathe, various other storage places, and a first-class sanding station, all squeezed into one small spot, but still comfortable to work in.
I always feel like the joiner and the planer should be right on top of each other. I mean, usually I run a board across the joiner and then pop it right through the planer. In this setup, it goes in one end and it comes out right behind Abe Lincoln's head. And who needs a 12-foot outfeed table when furniture parts are usually only about 3 foot long? The idea was to take a small, otherwise wasted space and get as much use out of it as possible, with bins for storage, grinders, and even our shop 8-track system. The main portion is the L-shaped bench on top of the porch. This is where our new downdraft sanding table is, as well as our stationary sanders. These used to have large bases, but we took them apart, made one big table for them because we always use them at 90 degrees, and set them up to the same 6-inch dust collection system. This gives us the perfect sanding workspace with lots of airflow to pull the dust away from our lungs. Raised about 4 feet above the shop floor, it's the perfect vantage point to look over the Stumpy Nubs empire.
The principle of a downdraft table is simple enough. It's just a box with some holes in it and some suction coming out through the bottom. But properly designing your downdraft table can be the difference between one that really sucks and one that really doesn't. We set our engineers to work on a couple of different designs for downdraft tables. One of those will have large dust collection ports for your 4-inch ducts, and another one will be for those that use a shop vac and want something smaller. Both of them can either sit on top of a bench during use and be put away, or can be fastened to a wall and folded down when you want to use that workspace for something else. Check out the Stumpy store for the plans coming up in a few days. You know, I'm not a wealthy guy. I drive a rusty pickup truck like a lot of you. I wash out and reuse Ziploc bags like most of you do. And just like you, when milk spoils, I put some salt and pepper on it and call it cottage cheese. So you can imagine how hard it is for me to justify spending a bunch of money on hardwood. Have you seen hardwood prices these days? I mean, for walnut, they want $15. That's for a board foot of 4/4 stuff. If you want the thicker stuff, it costs even more for the same amount of wood. I mean, does that make sense to you? When you go out and buy cheese, the sliced cheese costs more than the big brick of cheese. Shouldn't the cheese rule apply to all things, even wood? They say that wood's a commodity and that supply determines the prices. Then why is cedar sold for $3 a ton to put in hamster cages, while cherry's so expensive I have to buy it by the ounce? Michigan is the cherry pit of the country. You would think cherry would be a lot more abundant here than cedar, and so it would cost less. Well, I have a solution. All of us should go out in our backyard and plant a bunch of trees. Then supplies will go up and prices will go down. If you like maple, plant a couple hundred maple trees. If you like oak, plant a bunch of those. I'm going to plant MDF trees. I've never seen any, but I bet they have nice straight grain with no knots and they swell up when it rains. Whatever you do, don't forget to sit back, And have a cold one. Because with all the tree planting, you've earned it, my friend.